Ever wondered what happens when you just vanish from someone's life completely? I'm not talking about those small moments where you pull away. No, I mean truly disappear, no texts, no calls, no messages, no traces. What would they feel when you're suddenly gone? In a world where so many people feel they can take others for granted, it's time to flip the script. What if you just vanished? And let me tell you, when you do, their entire world will come crashing down. This is not just any video. It's the one that will make you rethink everything. If you've ever been in a relationship or friendship where you felt taken for granted, like you were just an option instead of a priority, then this video is meant for you. Today, we're diving deep into a concept so powerful that it can change the dynamic of any relationship. The emotional roller coaster someone goes through when you completely disappear from their life. We're going to explore 9 intense emotional stages they'll experience as they process your absence. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away and never look back. Now, if you're ready to truly discover your worth, if you're tired of being treated like an option and you're ready to make them regret ever taking you for granted, drop a comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option." Trust me, by the end of this video, you won't ever be one again. And stay tuned, because there's a 10th bonus emotional stage that you don't want to miss. One that'll completely change the way they view you forever. So, if you're ready to make them miss you in a way they never expected, hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the end. This is the moment your life and relationships take a dramatic turn. Let's get started. Number 1, the sting of rejection, a wake-up call. It all begins with the sting of rejection. This moment catches them off guard, and they never saw it coming. They never expected you to disappear. Not in the way you did. In their minds, you were a constant, something they could always rely on. You were the one who made the effort, who planned the time together, who showed care and attention. You were there for them, offering support and love. Until suddenly, you weren't. The instant you pull away, it feels like a sudden jolt, like they've been struck by a force they never anticipated. You've probably heard the saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. Well, that's exactly what happens when you vanish. Your absence is more than just physical. It represents the loss of everything you embodied for them. The comfort, the validation, the dependable presence. Without you, they feel a deep sense of rejection. But not just any rejection, a rejection that cuts deep. One that forces them to confront their own lack of control over you. It's something many don't like to admit. But when someone knows they can always rely on you, they begin to treat you like a fallback, an option. You become the safety net. When you're gone, that net disappears, and they suddenly face free fall. The panic sets in, and they're left to grapple with the truth. How did I let this happen? How did I lose them? The sting is especially intense when you've been emotionally available to them. They took for granted your constant affection and presence, assuming you'd always be there, no matter how they treated you. In their mind, they were doing you a favor by keeping you around. But the reality is the opposite. You were the one holding the relationship together, offering everything, while they gave you crumbs. Now, here's something important to understand. If you truly want to make them feel the sting of rejection, don't warn them. Don't tell them you're leaving. Don't ask for their attention or give them an ultimatum. Just vanish. When you disappear without any explanation or notice, it hits them much harder because it's completely unexpected. It forces them to reflect on their own actions and sends a clear message. You're done tolerating disrespect. When you walk away, don't look back. They will feel the rejection on a profound level. And trust me, it will hit them in ways they never imagined. The person they took for granted, the one they thought would always be there, has now vanished from their life. Let them handle the consequences. Number 2, the void of missing you, the true impact. After the sting of rejection fades, the next phase begins, the void. This is where things start to get really interesting. Initially, they might have told themselves they wouldn't care if you left. They convinced themselves that they would easily move on. But once you're truly gone, they begin to feel the emptiness in ways they couldn't have imagined. This isn't just any kind of emptiness. It's the kind that gnaws at them, a constant reminder that something is missing. They go through their daily routines, but everything feels off. The energy, the warmth, the emotional stability you brought into their life. Without it, everything feels dull. Now, they realize what you truly provided, the connection, the meaning, the balance that made their life feel full. When someone takes you for granted, they start to treat you like a background fixture, assuming the dynamic between you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else can bring what you brought into their life. They might try to distract themselves with new people, new activities, or work, but it never fills the void you've left behind. You were the unique source of energy, the one who made life more enjoyable and fulfilling. Every day without you, the void grows bigger. They might try to fill it with someone else or find solace in hobbies, but nothing ever compares to what they had with you. The emptiness lingers, reminding them of their loss. And here's the bitter irony. They didn't appreciate you when you were around. They thought they could do better or simply assumed you'd always be there. But as soon as you leave, everything changes. Now, they start missing the little things, the conversations, the laughs, the way you understood them in ways no one else could. It's the everyday moments they took for granted, the ones they suddenly crave. But you're no longer there to provide them. To make the void even more painful, take steps to ensure they can't reach you. Block them on social media, delete their number, and make it impossible for them to casually check in. The more they realize they can't find you, the deeper the void becomes. Every time they think of you and try to reach out, only to find nothing, that emptiness will grow. Let them sit with that feeling. Let them miss you deeply. Remember, people often don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Let them feel the absence you left behind. And the more they feel that emptiness, the more they'll begin to understand just how much you brought to their life. Number 3, the overwhelming curiosity. At this point, the void has fully settled in, and with it comes an intense shift in their mindset. They're no longer in control, and the uncertainty surrounding you consumes them. Curiosity kicks in with overwhelming force, becoming a relentless presence in their thoughts. They're now obsessed with the question, where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? The fact that you've disappeared from their life makes you an enigma, a puzzle they can't solve, and that's a feeling they can't stand. In today's digital age, curiosity amplifies. Social media makes it easier for them to track your life. But here's the catch. You've gone completely dark. No updates, no status posts, no pictures, no stories, nothing. It drives them absolutely mad. Why? Because humans have an innate fear of the unknown. When you vanish without a trace, their imagination begins to run wild. They start questioning, have you moved on? Are you seeing someone else? Are you better off without them? These questions eat away at their mind, and the longer they go without answers, the more obsessive their curiosity becomes. This is when they may even reach out to mutual friends, trying to gather information without directly admitting that they care. It's a sad sight to see. Someone who once thought they didn't need you, now scrambling to find out every little detail about your life. Curiosity is a powerful force, and when answers are elusive, their mind fills the gaps with worst-case scenarios. They might picture you happier, with someone else, living a better life. And that thought festers, becoming an obsession. The more they try to uncover, the more they'll be drawn to the mystery of you. To fuel this curiosity, keep up the ghosting. Stay completely off the radar. Don't give them even the slightest hint about your life. Let them stew in their own imagination, trying desperately to figure you out. Every time they check their phone and find no new clues about you, it will push them further into obsession. Now, you hold the power. Their curiosity becomes your weapon. Silence is your greatest tool. Don't give them any answers. Only leave them wondering. Number 4, deep self-reflection. At this point, things start getting real for them. After days, or even weeks, of wondering about your whereabouts and your life, they can no longer avoid the hard truth. They begin to turn inward, and self-reflection kicks in, but it's not pretty. The questions they now face are much harder. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I sabotage what we had? Regret starts to creep in, and it becomes a bitter, unavoidable pill to swallow. People hate admitting their mistakes. It's part of human nature. But when you disappear without warning, you force them to confront the reality of their actions. Without you around to cushion the blow, they are left to face their behavior, and that's a tough experience. They begin to replay every conversation, every interaction. In their mind, they wonder if they could have done things differently. The times they ignored your calls or brushed off your feelings. The times they made you feel insignificant. The weight of these memories hits them harder than they anticipated. Deep down, they know they had something special, but they took it for granted. Now, they're stuck with their own regrets. The self-reflection becomes a painful journey because they realize, in hindsight, they missed the chance to truly appreciate you. And here's the kicker. They can't blame you anymore. You're not there to argue with, to make excuses for their behavior, or to smooth things over. The only person they can blame is themselves. And that's a tough realization. As time passes, the guilt builds. They start wishing they could turn back the clock and fix things. But by then, it's too late. During this stage, don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or attempt to make them see the mistakes they made. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it's left to unfold in solitude. The longer they reflect, the more they'll come to understand that they were the ones who let things fall apart. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a lesson they need to learn. Even if it's painful, the truth will sink in, and they'll be forced to come to terms with the fact that they messed up, not you. Number 5, the urge to pursue you. After spending enough time in self-reflection, something begins to shift within them. The cycle of guilt and regret eventually evolves into a new feeling, a desperate desire to make things right. The tables have turned. The power dynamic has shifted. You were once the one who made all the efforts, who cared, who constantly pursued. But now, it's their turn. They can't stop thinking about you, can't stop obsessing over what they lost. They wonder if it's too late to salvage what was broken. They'll start sending texts like, "I've been thinking about you," trying to reopen a conversation. Maybe they'll like your old photos on Instagram, hoping for some kind of reaction. They might even comment on your posts or send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to reignite the connection that once was. This time, they're the ones chasing you. They've gone from taking you for granted to now desperately trying to win you back. And here's the most important part. You hold all the power now. You have control over how this unfolds. They will try everything to get your attention, but you don't need to respond. In fact, don't. Let them feel the weight of their actions, the frustration of wanting something they can't have. The more they chase, the more they'll realize they've lost their grip on the situation. They no longer have the upper hand, and that realization will drive them crazy. The moment you respond, the power shifts back to them. Don't give them that satisfaction. You've worked too hard to rebuild your own worth, and now is not the time to give that away. Let them pursue, but don't reward them with your attention. Silence will remain your strongest tool. Number 6, the battle between relief and regret. When you first disappear from their life, there's often an initial sense of relief. They may feel free for a moment, telling themselves, "Finally, I don't have to deal with this anymore." The weight of the situation lifts off their shoulders, and for a brief moment, they might even feel a sense of empowerment. They might go out with friends, swipe through dating apps, or convince themselves that everything is going to be fine. But here's the reality. That sense of freedom is short-lived and ultimately illusory. At first, it may feel exciting, but as the days go on, they begin to realize that without you, things feel emptier than they ever anticipated. The people they thought could replace you were just superficial distractions. It's like trying to quench thirst with salt water. At first, it seems to provide relief, but it only leaves them thirstier, more desperate, and filled with regret. In today's world of casual dating and quick hookups, they may have assumed that moving on would be as easy as finding someone new. But they quickly learn that the kind of emotional stability and deep connection you provided can't be replaced by someone who offers nothing more than fleeting attention or temporary affection. That is the painful realization that hits them hard. The emptiness they thought they could escape now haunts them. Let them feel this illusion of freedom. Don't rush to fill the space when they start feeling regret. Allow them to sit in the emptiness they thought would feel liberating. Remind yourself that the relief they initially felt was only temporary, while your absence will leave a lasting impact that they never expected. Your absence is not just a void, it's a lesson they'll have to come to terms with, and it will haunt them far longer than they anticipated. Number 7, the desire to play the game. Once regret fully settles in, they panic. The reality hits hard. They've lost control. So, what's their next move? They resort to playing games. They start acting distant on purpose, hoping to trigger your jealousy. They might post photos with other people, making it seem like they're perfectly fine without you. Maybe they share cryptic statuses about moving on or post selfies that feel a little too exaggerated, as if to show how happy they are. But here's the catch. You're no longer playing. You've outgrown these childish tactics. You've moved beyond the games they think will lure you back. The truth is, their attempts to provoke a reaction from you don't even register. You don't even notice their petty efforts anymore. And that drives them crazy. People often think that manipulating someone through jealousy or playing hard to get will make them chase after them. But what happens when you've stopped chasing? When you've grown weary of the game, they'll throw everything at you. Subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated posts on social media. But none of it works because you've stopped responding. You're not engaging in their manipulative tactics. And that's what truly drives them mad. When they can no longer get a rise out of you, they lose all control. They're left grasping for something they can't manipulate anymore. And that's when the panic truly sets in. Don't engage with their games. Ignore their cryptic posts. Don't respond to their photos. Their game only works if you play. The moment you stop responding is the moment they realize they've lost all their power over you. Number 8, the crushing weight of silence. Silence is an incredibly powerful tool. When you disappear, the absence of your words, your texts, and your presence speaks volumes. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. And that's where things start to get really tough for them. You see, silence is torturous for someone who once had control over you. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to ask what's wrong, to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you leave them in complete silence, making them wonder if they've lost you for good? The quiet is deafening, and the longer it stretches, the more anxious they become. In today's world, where constant communication is the norm, texts, calls, notifications, instant responses, people can't handle being ignored. Every day they wait for a response. And when they don't get it, they spiral. They're used to the noise of a relationship, the texts, the calls, even the arguments. But silence? Silence is something they can't comprehend. Let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't explain yourself. Your absence speaks louder than anything you could say. It forces them to reflect on their own actions. And they'll soon realize that losing access to you, without any explanation or argument, is far worse than any fight or disagreement you could have ever had. Your silence will make them realize that what they once had with you is now forever out of reach. Number 9, the fear that brings them crawling back. Now, everything starts to crumble for them as fear sets in. This is the moment they never thought would come. The moment they're actually scared of losing you for good. For so long, they were comfortable. They took your presence for granted, thinking you'd always be there, no matter what. But now that you're gone, they're terrified. Fear grips them harder than anything else. They begin to wonder, what if I lost them forever? What if they've moved on to someone else? The thought of you with someone new consumes them. They imagine you laughing, making memories with someone else, and it eats them up inside. No longer are they worried about their ego, pride, or playing it cool. All they can think about now is getting you back. They start to feel desperate. This fear pushes them to do things they never would have imagined. They reach out. They apologize. They beg. Maybe they send long messages, trying to explain how they didn't appreciate you before, but now realize how much you meant. Maybe they even show up at your door, hoping for a second chance. But here's the truth. By the time they feel this fear, you're already gone. You've moved on. You've found your strength and independence. You no longer need them. Their fear is real, but it's too late. When they come crawling back, don't give them a second chance just because of their fear. Let them face the consequences of their actions. You've already moved on, and they need to understand that you are not someone to be taken for granted. They'll regret it, but that's something they have to live with. Number 10, the realization of emotional independence. This is where everything comes full circle. The moment you realize your own emotional independence. When you disappear, you're not just walking away from them. You're walking towards your own freedom. You're reclaiming your emotional clarity, your peace. In many relationships, we become so wrapped up in making the other person happy, in proving our worth, that we forget about our own needs. We forget that we have the power to walk away, to demand better for ourselves. But once you've disappeared, once you've reclaimed your space, things become clear. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, feel, or want. You realize that your happiness is not tied to them. And that is the most empowering realization. This is your emotional independence. And the best part is that they feel it too. They can sense that you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger, wiser, more confident. They realize you've outgrown them. You don't need them to feel complete anymore. This is when the tables turn for good. They're still stuck in their old patterns. But you've evolved. You've broken free from the need for validation. Their opinion no longer matters. Embrace your emotional independence. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't let them think they still control your happiness. You've moved beyond that, and that's your greatest victory. The lesson here: stop giving people the chance to take you for granted. Stop being the one who's always there, no matter how badly they treat you. The moment you walk away, the moment you vanish, everything changes. You hold the power now. They'll feel it, they'll regret it, and they'll realize they've lost something irreplaceable. If you're ready to reclaim your power and stop being an option, comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because you're about to step into the most powerful version of yourself. If this video hit home for you, if you felt a shift in your mindset, consider joining the channel memberships. It helps us keep creating quality content like this and makes it accessible to more people. And if membership isn't for you, hit that subscribe button. Both options help the channel grow, and I appreciate all your support. Remember, you're in control now. See you in the next video.